Celebrations to mark the end of slavery in Florida date back to 1865.
A lot of places they don't know anything about our history.
Just days after the Civil War ended, there was Emancipation Day.
The day when freedom cried.
May 20th, 1865.
4th of July did not liberate people who looked like me. It was May the 20th.
So let me live so that when I die.
Before marching into Texas to free the slaves on Juneteenth, Union soldiers stopped in the Sunshine State.
Let me live with the musket in one hand and the Bible in the other.
And those 500 Union soldiers walked into the countryside and told them that they were free. They dropped what they were doing right there.
Generations have carried on the traditions for more than 150 years.
If we love freedom, emancipation celebrations ought to be something that all of us can embrace.
Juneteenth may get the recognition.
Freedom is for everybody.
But Emancipation Day arrived here first. Freedom Day in Florida. The first time the Emancipation Proclamation was read here in the state of Florida was May 20th of 1865. Hi, I'm Calvin Hughes. Major General Edward McCook made the announcement from these very steps at the Knott House Museum here in Tallahassee. Florida's Juneteenth is Emancipation Day, celebrated longer and earlier. Florida's history with slavery goes back to the 1500s, when Florida was a Spanish colony. Even when it became a U.S. territory in 1821, then a state a quarter century later, the so-called peculiar institution was allowed.
Slavery, just on pure fact, was enforced by brutality and existed to exploit people.
Dr. Tamika Bradley Hobbs is the regional manager of the African American Research Library and Cultural Center in Fort Lauderdale. She's an author, educator, and historian.
Just think about the temperatures we're experiencing, being out in the fields, planting, harvesting tobacco, cotton, from the time that you can't see in the morning to the time that you can't see in the evening is I would have to imagine, was a really terrible kind of existence. Florida's a very new state. Florida does not have this deep and rich history with slavery. It's only becomes a state in 1845, shortly before the Civil War. And so it is a bit of a territory, if you will. It's a wilderness in many ways. And so I think that makes the experience of slavery here quite different.
The enslaved were in the Florida Keys, but concentrated in a 5-county region in the northern part of the state: Leon, Gadsden, Jefferson, Madison, and Hamilton counties. In 1860, on the eve of the Civil War, nearly 45% of Florida's population were slaves, more than 140,000. Historians say they would routinely resist, rise up, and run away.
We typically think about the Underground Railroad flowing north. Florida was an avenue for freedom seekers going all the way back to the Spanish presence in Fort Mose. When Fort Mose said that if you're an enslaved person and you come here and you convert to Catholicism, you can live your life as a free person.
Freedom. Oh, freedom.
For those who could survive the harsh wilderness conditions beyond North and Middle Florida, they could escape the wrath of slavery through the so-called Saltwater Underground Railroad to the Bahamas, Andros Island, from the beaches of now Bill Baggs State Park.
Freedom, freedom.
Others would find freedom by fighting with the Seminole Indians.
By the time that you get to the Second Seminole War, the U.S. generals are reporting from the battlefield that they are actually fighting a Negro war, that there are many people of African descent, former slaves, who are fighting with the Seminoles against them. And they're fighting to maintain the freedom that they had been able to enjoy living amongst those indigenous people here in the state.
When the first shots were fired in the Civil War in 1861, It was the beginning of the end of American slavery.
God's gonna trouble the water.
You do have the war break out in April of 1861, and very shortly thereafter you have federal forces that are coming to the state that are taking control of two areas in particular, Fernandina area, Jacksonville area along the east coast of Florida, as well as Key West. And so those two areas stay under federal control for most of the war.
On January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation and singled out the Sunshine State.
When we talk about the history of freedom and emancipation celebrations in the state, the earliest ones are taking place in East Florida and in Key West. Key West is the earliest one that we have on record, which is taking place in January of 1863.
In the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authority thereof.
In the narratives, the slaves said that they saw the wagons coming down the road with the mules and the drumming. And when they walked down in Leon County, and those 500 Union soldiers walked into the countryside and told them that they were free, many of them, whatever they were doing, they dropped what they were doing right then.
I'll break it free. I'll break it free.
Freedom had finally arrived in Florida when General Edward McCook read Lincoln's proclamation from the steps of the Knott House in Tallahassee.
He read the Emancipation. There was a celebration at what we called back then, they called back then Bull Pond, my elders. Today it's named Lake Ella. Develop the content, lay it out.
For Altamise Barnes, honoring the traditions of Emancipation Day have become her life's work. Her parents made sure she celebrated as a child.
And they refer to you as the mother of Emancipation Day. Do you accept the title?
But my mother was a mother of emancipation. Many mothers involved, they didn't miss that day. My father would go to work, but we knew to rush home from school because when we got home, he was ready with his cut-off T-Mile Ford truck that he made up. And he was gonna take us out to St. Peter's Church and then over to Testarina, out Miccosukee Road to the Freedom Celebration.
Barnes has made it her mission to make sure the next generation knows the history of Emancipation Day in Leon County, earning her the title as the mother of Emancipation Day.
How intelligent can I be if I don't know even a critical aspect of my own life, experience, and history?
We will show you how she says Freedom Day in Florida should be remembered and celebrated across the state.
They told me that I was crazy to be walking across the country.
And later, the grandmother of Juneteenth talks about her mission and her bold vision for the future when Freedom Day in Florida returns. When the Union soldiers and the United States 2nd Regiment of Colored Troops marched into Leon County May 20th, 1865, they needed an unmistakable sound to send the message that freedom was finally in Florida.
Who would know that coming out of emancipation, there was a freedom drum beat? What is a freedom drum beat? There's a certain cadence.
They love to hear the drum beat. That's why the drums must continue to beat, because that's where our freedom is.
It's such an important beat. They'll beat the drum every year for 100 years somewhere in the country.
A parade can go by here now with several bands. They can have drummers. But if somebody is beating the 20th of May drum beat, I know that's what it is.
At Bull Pond Park, the first Emancipation Day celebrations began in Tallahassee. Some records show black tourists arrived by train. Residents celebrated with a picnic and speeches.
We couldn't wait to get there. We would go from one year to the other.
There's something about the people.
Altamise Barnes made it her mission to make sure the history of Emancipation Day is never forgotten.
And as my ancestors passed away, of which there were many, I realized how much they had accomplished. You know, I said, and they're gone. Who will know this? Nobody was doing it.
Barnes helped research the history of Emancipation Day in Florida and collect artifacts.
The Union soldiers left some of the drums here with the enslaved people.
It's all on display in Tallahassee at the historic house of John G. Riley, who was born a slave in 1857 but became an educator and activist. The house was built in 1890. Leon County recognized Emancipation Day as a county holiday in 2020, 155 years after freedom had arrived. It remains the only Florida county so far.
We have to carry on that message to them so that they will understand what this freedom thing is.
So let me live so that when I die,
Every year on May 20th in Tallahassee,
and I will know what to say when I meet my heavenly Lord.
reciting the soldier's prayer, Sergeant Major Jarvis Rozier leads the reenactment of Union soldiers, the 2nd Regiment of the United States Colored Troops.
The people whereof
And there's the reading of Lincoln's proclamation on the steps of the Knott House.
shall be then, thenceforward, and forever free.
In 1865, it's where General Edward McCook announced freedom for the enslaved.
And from that day forward, celebrated May 20th, 1865, as the date when the enslaved people in Florida were freed.
It's amazing that after slavery, they kept celebrating and then handed down generation after generation.
For so many, the food, fun, and families gathering have long been a tradition on Emancipation Day and has never stopped, like the beating of the drum.
Do you accept that title, the grandmother of Juneteenth?
Coming up, we introduce you to Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth, when Freedom Day in Florida comes right back. We're at the new home of Opal Lee. Her story is extraordinary. The retired Texas-born teacher is a big reason why Juneteenth is recognized as a national holiday. Her daunting journey began back in 2016 by simply putting one foot in front of the other. And at 98 years old, she's still doing it. Walking the walk and talking the talk.
How you doing?
Opal Lee has become a national treasure. She's gained international fame as the grandmother of Juneteenth.
Do you accept that title, the grandmother of Juneteenth? What do you hope your legacy?
I just want them to understand that freedom is for everybody.
Back in 2016, Lee had an idea to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. She had recently retired from teaching.
I decided if a little old lady in tennis shoes was walking from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C., I was going to see the president, somebody would take notice. And they did.
The grandmother of Juneteenth says grit and stamina have long been a family staple.
They told me that I was crazy to be walking across the country. But if it's good, there's going to be a God that's going to help you. So don't give up. Don't.
Walking from Texas to the nation's capital is no small feat. The distance is more than 1,400 miles.
Even if you do 5 miles a day in the morning and the afternoon, you're not going to get there before he leaves office.
They really thought, well, that old lady, she gonna get tired and go back home.
All right now.
Opal Lee's decision to do something about Juneteenth began when she was 89 years old. Her vision would require an army of volunteers.
People would join me. We walked through Fort Worth and Arlington and Grand Prairie and Dallas and Box Springs and Joplin.
It was in the tiny town of Joplin, Texas, that Lee faced her first setback. She was promised an RV.
They decided what I was doing was too political. They kept their RV, but we didn't miss a beat.
In every city, she would walk only 2.5 miles, the distance representing the 2.5 years it took for Union General Gordon Granger to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation and free the slaves in Texas, June 19, 1865. While Lee was making her way to Washington, she was collecting signatures. Lee wanted 100,000.
I can't breathe.
Then cell phone video captured the shocking death of George Floyd.
When George Floyd was murdered, the world wanted to find a way to let the African American community know that they supported them. And they found our petition.
In 2019, she got an unlikely call from a celebrity.
I called you to give you the news.
Sean Combs wanted to help. He had never heard about Juneteenth.
By the time Lee and her new family of volunteers had reached Capitol Hill, they had 1.5 million signatures. President Biden would make Juneteenth a federal holiday in June of 2021.
He signed that bill into law and gave me that pen. You wait till I get my museum up.
In 2022, she was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize.
The nation thanks Opal Lee.
And in May of 2024, she returned to the White House, receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
If people have been taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And it's up to us to do that.
Opal Lee was born in 1926 in Marshall, Texas. She moved to Fort Worth when she was 10 years old. She remembers celebrating Juneteenth as a child.
My parents took me to the fairground, and there was music and food. And I was dancing and food and food and food and food. Oh, gee.
But on June 19th, 1939, her life would take a dramatic turn when an angry white mob attacked her parents' new home in Fort Worth.
And people started gathering. The paper says it was 500, and that the police were there. They didn't do anything. Those people tore that place asunder. They drove the furniture out and burned it. They did despicable things.
As an adult, Lee often wondered about her parents' old property.
I'd ask from time to time who owned a lot. And finally, I found out that Habitat for Humanity owned it. So I went to them to buy it. And they wouldn't sell it to me. They gave it to me.
Habitat for Humanity gifted Lee back the land on East Annie Street in Fort Worth. 85 years after an angry mob drove her family out,
Here's your brand new home. Congratulations.
Lee moved into a brand new home.
What the hell is keeping us apart? Why can't people see that we all breathe the same air and eat the same food? We are one people, and we need to act like it.
The grandmother of Juneteenth has a grand vision. Up next, we'll show you the plan. Plus, descendants of Florida's emancipation discuss the future when Freedom Day in Florida comes back. Both Emancipation Day and Juneteenth are times for families and communities to come together to celebrate, reflect, and remember history.
Remember me as your grandmother by another mother.
For the grandmother of Juneteenth, those celebrations have long been a part of her life. Lee remembers a freedom party in 1975 in Fort Worth's Sycamore Park that a local newspaper says brought out 30,000 people.
This time, we were having so much fun. And I got on a flatbed truck, and we partied till dawn.
So all of this is going to go into the museum. And now there's a grand plan for the future. On this parcel of land on the corner of Rosedale and Evans in Fort Worth, a new 50,000 square foot Juneteenth National Museum is expected to open.
But something from all 50 states about Juneteenth and how they are celebrating Juneteenth, I could hardly wait.
Juneteenth may get the recognition, but freedom officially arrived in every state by the passing of the 13th Amendment.
Give all honor to Mrs. Lee. I'm proud of what she did, the walk she took, but you had Miss Lee's and Mr. Lee's across the Confederate States doing the same thing.
So if you had your way, Juneteenth, Emancipation Day, the 13th Amendment, and January 1st of 1863, all recognized.
All recognized or go with the 13th Amendment.
Juneteenth, I applaud Texas, but it doesn't reach from the Atlantic to the Pacific. It's Texas specific. May 20th, 1865 is Florida specific, so we should have our own holiday as well.
Is there a competition between Juneteenth and Emancipation?
There is really no competition because I think a free holiday, a federal holiday, and a day off from work wins. I would like to see, whether it is May 20th or Juneteenth, for us to take a moment to really critically evaluate our progress in this country since emancipation. How far have we come? How are we uplifting and celebrating the people who survived the terror of chattel slavery in the United States? It should be a time of reflection.
Freedom is for everybody. And this is what Juneteenth represents, freedom.
The signing of that historic document, the Emancipation Proclamation, and its enforcement changed the course of history. In the words of that document, it says, "All persons held as slaves shall be free." Whether it's Juneteenth or Emancipation Day, they both represent celebrations, reflections, remembering, and above all, perhaps, never forgetting. I'm Calvin Hughes. Thank you for watching on this Freedom Day.